The glow of the moon just barely illuminates your room through your curtains. You're alone in the house with nothing but your personal demons to keep you company. There's an uncomfortable silence, broken only by the rhythmic hooting of an owl. Sounds like it's the perfect kind of night to terrify yourself, and we have the list of best Xbox One horror games to help. Some may argue that there is nothing scarier than an effective horror game. To test that theory, we've compiled the list of the biggest horrors on Xbox One. True shockers that should leave you paranoid of what evils are stalking you in your dark, lonely abode. From fast-paced first-person shooters to methodical indie titles, these Xbox One releases and backward-compatible games are not for the faint of heart. So set the mood, dim the lights, turn up the surround sound, and prepare yourself for an evening of frights with these best Xbox One horror games. To prevent one or two franchises from taking over the list, we'll be featuring only one game from each. Bear in mind that all of these games will also work on Xbox Series X and S thanks to backwards compatibility. Before then though, if you could please slap the like, smash the subscribe, we will try our best to get Microsoft to commission a survival horror version of Grabbed by the Ghoulies. 10. Condemned: Criminal Origins. Alright, so this isn't an Xbox One game per se, and is instead playable via backwards compat, but we're nothing if not condemned to want a third game in this series forever and ever. The more people that play the first two games, the more likely we are to get a sequel, right? When Condemned first released as an Xbox 360 launch title, it wasn't met with universal praise, but as the years went on, a much larger cult following certainly seemed to latch on. Whatever may have happened at launch certainly doesn't speak for the game's popularity today, as it has somehow withstood more than a decade to become a classic that's still a fun, scary, and solid title. The heavy-hitting gameplay, and we mean that literally, fits well into the gritty environment of the fictional city of Metro. As FBI serial crime unit crime scene investigator Ethan Thomas, players set out to solve a series of murders pinned on the investigator. Using funky gadgets and a keen eye, Thomas seeks out clues that can clear his name. As you can guess, not everything is as it seems, and there is something much darker brewing in Metro. To survive through the mass of psychopaths and cold-blooded killers, Thomas uses brute strength and anything from frying pans to taxidermy knives. The weight of every strike may be the best part of Criminal Origins, but the game also succeeds in giving players quite a few scares. 9. State of Decay 2. The original State of Decay was a fun concept marred by a pretty small budget and a lack of multiplayer. The sequel does a great job of rectifying those issues and more in the zombie-filled country landscape. State of Decay 2 carries over the character swap and base mechanics, but puts a little more work into them so they're tighter and less frustrating to manage. The undead are persistent and abundant, and there are few moments of peace in the infested world. This helps create an experience fueled by tension and dread as you anticipate the worst every time you step foot in an abandoned house or building. At higher levels, State of Decay 2 turns into the perfect stress reliever as you mow over and cut down hordes of zombies. While not the most beloved game at launch due to plenty of technical and balance issues, Undead Labs have worked hard over the years to bring it up to snuff. Give this one another chance ahead of the third game on Series X. 8. Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight features a concept that's become popular in many recent competitive and cooperative multiplayer experiences. One player takes control of a deranged killer or supernatural entity and must hunt down and kill 4 player-controlled prey. Controlling either can be fun, especially once you learn the nuances of each villain, which include DLC characters like Michael Myers, Leatherface, and the Pig-Face Killer inspired by Saw. As humans, players must activate multiple generators while avoiding their superpowered stalker, creating a tense game of cat and mouse that doesn't let up until you're dead or free. Dead by Daylight's gameplay is evenly balanced to give the relatively powerless survivors a chance at escaping each realm. The result is a solid multiplayer that's equal parts delightful and terrifying. It's not easy to turn a multiplayer game into an effective horror title, but Behaviour Interactive found the right formula. 7. Dying Light. Imagine, if you will, that Dead Island and Mirror's Edge had a baby. The product would probably look something like Dying Light, an open-world zombie-killing experience with an emphasis on parkour. One of the best aspects of Dying Light is its fictional setting of the Mediterranean city of Harran, which gives you plenty of accessible surfaces to run, jump, and climb over in a pinch. Rather than pit you one-on-one against hordes of zombies, Dying Light encourages you to run, especially come nightfall when the real monsters stalk the streets. Heavy-hitting melee attacks, sparse firearms, unique abilities, and a crafting and weapon upgrade system round out your means of survival when you must take on the Shamblers. The success of Dying Light's gameplay and overall design will have you anticipating the release of its sequel, scheduled to release sometime in the next decade or two. Hey, look on the bright side, at least you have about 9 million bits of DLC to get through in the first game. 6. SOMA. Stuck in the bottom of the ocean in a mysterious research facility, players take control of Simon Jarrett as he pieces together the events that led to his abandonment in Pathos 2. As if being trapped underwater wasn't scary enough, SOMA throws monsters and a lack of weapons into the mix, creating a feeling of helplessness throughout your time in the deep blue. At its core though, the most startling moments of SOMA are psychological and not the physical dangers. There is no sense of safety when walking the halls of Pathos 2, even if the path ahead appears to be clear. You're either pursued by some monstrosity or being subject to constant psychological strain that's sure to leave you questioning your surroundings. SOMA is a solid game with a strong and intriguing story that will leave you gripped every second you spend exploring the submerged winding halls of the Pathos 2 facility. And if you don't want the spooks, there is an option to turn SOMA into a walking sim, but where's the fun in that? Hi, I'll take one poop in the pants please. 5. Layers of Fear. Not every horror game needs to feature some deadly fiend or a horde of nightmare creatures. Sometimes the monsters you fear most can be your own mind. In Layers of Fear, you'll experience the world through the fractured psyche of an artist trying to complete his masterpiece. Finishing his magnum opus turns into quite the task as hallucinations of his past life come to life. Layers of Fear has many twisting paths as you dive into the troubled mind of the artist and learn his deepest, darkest secrets. It's not long before you realise there is something sinister at work, though it may not be the manifestation of evil you are expecting. A mix of psychological horror and tragedy sends you on a roller coaster ride of complex puzzles, jump scares and disturbing imagery. Once you've had your fill of creepy paintings, be sure to check out Layers of Fear 2, the underrated sequel which seems to have come out and had about as much attention as me when I drew anything as a child. Mother, I tried my best. 4. The Evil Within 2. In gaming, it's not uncommon for a sequel to surpass the original. The Evil Within 2 is a far more complex and complete game than its predecessor, leaving behind linearity in favour of a more open world filled with ungodly terrors. The result is an experience that is somehow scarier than the original, which was already some of Shinji Mikami's most horrifying work. When Sebastian Castellanos returns to the mysterious STEM system to find the daughter he thought had died, he must face old and new enemies, including a deranged killer and one of the game's scariest supernatural entities, the singing ghost Anima. Play through The Evil Within 2 and we promise you will never get that haunting version of Claude Debussy's Claire de Lune out of your head. Download this on Game Pass and then download it 7 or 9 more times so Microsoft might commission a third game. 3. Alien Isolation. When Creative Assembly revealed they were working on a survival horror game set in the Alien universe, there were equal parts of excitement and skepticism. In the gaming industry, Alien hasn't had the best luck, but the Horsham, England developer knocked it out of the park. Using the imposing size, intelligence and relentlessness of the Xenomorph, Creative Assembly delivered a tense game from start to finish. A rather slow opening sets the stage for Amanda Ripley's eventual encounter with the lone Xenomorph. Unable to kill it, the crafty engineer uses handmade gadgets to distract and lure the ravenous being so she can accomplish her main goal: escape the Sevastopol space station and continue the search for her mother, Ellen. With an entire system of vents running through the station, you never know when the Xeno is going to show up. Just as you can hear it scurrying about, it can almost certainly hear you and will react to the slightest noise, even the steady beep of your motion tracker. This all comes together for a non-stop heart-pounding game that does not let up until the credits roll. 2. Outlast 2. Red Barrels could have taken the easy way out with Outlast 2. It could have returned to the familiar setting of Mount Massive Asylum and made players explore more of the sprawling psychiatric hospital for the small payoff of a slightly expanded story. Instead, it focused on the region of Coconino County, Arizona, and a series of villages caught up in cults, religion, and madness. Outlast 2 expands upon the lore presented in the original without coming across as a blatant repeat, though the gameplay is very much so the same. Equipped with a night vision camera, players have to survive by running and hiding from the loons of the Supai region. Like many games where you're defenseless, Outlast 2 is a thoroughly tense experience framed by a solid story and tight gameplay. Outlast 2 set the stage, and Outlast 2 did all it could with the source material to deliver a dreadful but still entertaining game. Soon you'll be able to share the terror with a loved one with the Outlast Trials, which is due to launch sometime once the hellscape of the world right now chills out a tad. And at number 1, it's Resident Evil 2 2019. Even when we have most of the Resident Evil series to choose from, the 2019 remake of Resident Evil 2 still comes out on top as one of the best Xbox One horror games. Capcom excelled at creating an atmospheric and tense game from start to finish. Players that need frequent breaks between scares will find that Resident Evil 2 is not for them, especially when a certain heavy-footed fiend crashes onto the scene. The remake is a visual and auditory treat for horror fans that will have both novices and genre experts saving often. If you're worried about playing what amounts to little more than a graphically improved rehash of the 1998 original, Capcom completely reimagined the game from the ground up. There may be story parallels between the two, but the 2019 version looks, feels, and plays like a completely different game. So little of it is familiar, which enhances the scares. Iconic moments weren't left out, but they were retooled in such a way that, even if you grew up playing the original, they're even more shocking than they were before. There is a whole lot to like about Resident Evil 2, and it's the perfect iteration to welcome a whole new generation of Resident Evil fans. We cannot wait for Village, and not just because of the Mama Milkies. And there you have it, there's our top 10 list of the best Xbox One horror games. You know the drill by now, we pass the question over to you. Did you agree with the list? Did you disagree? Is there anything you felt we should have added in that we missed out? Please sign off in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed the video, please do smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, any button that's smashable, you bloody smash it, you hear me? Again, you know, it sounds cliche, but it helps the channel grow, and we're all about that growth, son. If you have enjoyed the content, then please do consider checking out all of the other social medias and links and such on screen right now for even more. We hope to see you on the next video of the Cultured Vultures YouTube channel. But until then, cuckoo.